Hello and welcome to another Stamp with Amy K Facebook Live, and today I'm going to show you how I made a card with the Gathered Wheat stamp set bundle, which is one of the new ones from the upcoming July to December 2022 mini catalog from Stampin' Up. So I'm pretty excited. I love all things fall, and so there are quite a few really pretty new fall things in the catalog, and this is one of them. So I'm excited to be able to show it to you today, and let's take a peek at the new stamp set bundle. And like I said, it's just, I put together a pretty simple card, a little bit of layering, but it's a pretty easy one. So, all right. So this is the card we're going to be making. The sentiment, I realized as I was trying to take pictures of it, the sentiment doesn't show up really well in photos, but hopefully it shows up pretty well here. It shows up perfectly, in my hand. I can read it and see it. But when I was trying to take photos of it, it didn't work out as well. So hey, Karen and Catherine and Deb and Bonnie, and let's see who else is here. The comments are coming in. So and Bree is here as well. So thanks so much for joining today. I appreciate you all being here. And all right, so let's take a peek at the new bundle. So this is the Gathered Wheat stamp set, which, again, it's just so pretty. I love all the images in it. Love the sentiments in it. I'm a huge fan of the mixed fonts, and this has got that. So again, pretty for fall and Thanksgiving and all that sort of thing. Love the splatter image in it too, so it's definitely a nice one. Hey, Barbara, thanks for joining. And then we've got the coordinating die set. So this looks like the little, I don't know, I'm sure there's a term for them, but the little individual pieces of wheat. Somebody will probably pop on and tell me what they are, but I should look these things up before I start talking, but I never think to do that. So that looks like just a little, it's a row. It's, obviously a little border die that you can add on. And that's a standalone, as well as these pieces of wheat are standalone dies, and these make like little leaves, kind of thin leaves. I'm glad that you're liking. See, Vicki, I love all things fall. I love them. So I can't help myself. I have to order everything. All right. So there's a banner die that works with the thinking of you sentiment. And then obviously we've got dies that cut out the stamped images as well. So it's a really great die set, really great stamp set. And again, perfect for all things fall and Thanksgiving and everything else. All right, so let me set that aside, and a couple other things that I used on this. One of my favorite die sets, probably my second favorite one. My other favorite one I'm using too. So this is the Scalloped Contours dies, and I used the second from the largest one to cut out the little background piece of Designer Series paper on here. And the other die set that I used is my, my Old Faithful one, my favoriteest die set ever, which is the stitched rectangles. And I used this one, the smallest one of the wider rectangles, if that makes sense. So, hey, glad you're here as well, Nayoka. Thanks for joining today. All right, so that's the one that I used to cut out the sentiment on here. Couple things before I get going on the card. Stampin' Up! Does have their January to June 2022 mini catalog retirements sale going on right now. So anything that is retiring in the current mini catalog is only available while supplies last through the end of June. So make sure that you're getting your orders in soon. Things are definitely selling out. The stamp sets and everything are while supplies last. So just be aware of that. If there's a stamp set that you're wanting, don't wait to get it. Get it soon. One other thing from Stampin' Up! Is they've got their kits collection on sale. Buy one, get one 50% off for the month of June, which is a really great deal. The really good deal about this is that it's the more expensive kit that they're giving you 50% off. So it's already a good deal to get a kit for 50% off, but then you get the most expensive one, so yay. So head over to my online store. You can find all the kits that are available currently in the kits collection out there. There's a special tab called Kits Collection, so make sure you go over there and take a peek at it and get your kits ordered before the end of the month. So hey, Jeannie from rainy and dreary in Delaware. It's absolutely beautiful here. It's like, well, a little warm for my taste, but it's about 80 degrees and sunny, so it's beautiful here in New Jersey. I can't complain at all. All right, last thing before we get going, I have a Designer Series paper share from the mini catalog that I'm going to be offering. So this is the upcoming mini catalog, the July to December, so you're going to get a sampling of all of the new Designer Series papers in the catalog. If you join my share, all the details are posted out on my blog, which is stampwithamyk.com. And I'll also link up my blog post tomorrow in this video, so you'll be able to easily go find it, and the details will be posted and linked up out there as well. So let me know if you're interested in joining. The deadline is the 30th of June, and it gets you a nice working sample of all of the new papers that I know you all are dying to see. And it's nice to be able to not have to pay for the full packs. You can just get a partial pack and then decide if you want to buy more from there. So, all right, you need rain in Mississippi. Yeah, I know my parents are in Iowa, and they've been telling me the same thing. It's really dry where they are too. And we've kind of been probably a little bit on the heavy side for rain here. So I don't know. I wish we could send some your way. So, all right, so the background, this is a piece of, I was going to call it soft suede, and I'm like, this is so not soft suede. This is so saffron cardstock. The card base I have cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2, but this card will definitely work with your standard book fold card, the 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. So if you prefer that card base, you can definitely use it with this card. This is just my preferred card base, and I happen to have one cut already, so that's why I just used it rather than, normally I try to show you both, that I can use the top fold or not. So I'm using a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue, and this is a piece of the So Saffron. I keep wanting to call it soft saffron, and that is just not right. So Saffron Designer Series paper from the Subtles 6x6 Designer Series paper pack. So you can see I obviously used, this is from the same pack of paper, but they're obviously different designs. So I used the one that looks a little more plaid for this one, and we're using the striped version for the card we're making today. So I'm going to get this stuck onto the card front, and I usually use multi-purpose liquid glue when I'm doing this type of adhering, just because it gives me a little extra wiggle room, and I try not to use it for anything else because I tend to make a huge mess with liquid glue, and I end up with me stuck to everything, and it's not good. All right, so I did some of the die cutting ahead of time. This is actually from the Splendid Day Designer Series paper pack, which will be coming up in the July to December 2022 mini catalog. It's very, like I said, it's really pretty. And the other side of it is a specialty pack. So one side of it is foiled, and this side of it is a little more, this almost looks like canvas to me. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for, but anyway, but that's the look, and I really like it, and I think it's perfect for fall. So again, this is Splendid Day Specialty Designer Series paper. It's 12 by 12 from the upcoming mini catalog. Everything that I'm showing you today that's from the mini catalog will be available to purchase beginning on July 1st. And this paper is also included in my Designer Series paper share. So, hey, Linda and Deb, thanks so much for joining. All right, so I have got Sahara Sand ink. This Designer Series paper is technically Sahara Sand as well. And I'm just going to stamp the splatter image. It doesn't give you like it's not a really noticeable difference on the background, but it just gives it a little more texture, and that's kind of the look that I was going for, was just a little more texture on the background, and a little, I don't know, a little darker color. So hopefully you can see it as it goes across there. It just gives it a little bit of something on the background. All right, let me close that one up and set this aside. And then I'm going to take that, and we are going to stick it actually on the card front with some Stampin' Dimensionals. The specialty paper is actually fairly sturdy with the foiled backing on it. If you're concerned about it, sometimes I don't adhere, Designer Series paper is what I was trying to say, with Stampin' Dimensionals, because it's a little thinner and doesn't hold up as well to kind of wear and tear and sliding things in and out of an envelope and that type of thing. But this one actually is a little bit thicker with the foil in the background, so I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it with Stampin' Dimensionals. If you wanted to put you could put Sahara Sand or Basic White or whatever cardstock, just cut another one of the exact same piece, stick it to the back with a little liquid glue, and that'll give it a little extra sturdiness for your card front. So depends on what you want and the look you're going for. So, all right, did I put that on there totally crookedy? I did. Hold on, let me grab my scissors. Hey. All right, so because I messed things up, hey, Linda, and I see Karen is here, and Julie and Debbie, so thanks for joining. Because I mess things up sometimes, I like to show you how I fix them, because I do mess a lot of things up. I've just done a lot of a lot of fixing. So how I fix it when I stick on something with dimensionals and it's not straight like that, I just take my paper snips and I slide it in between the two layers and just snip the Stampin' Dimensionals, and then You can, if you need to, you can roll the Stampin' Dimensionals off, or you can just stick new ones on, like I'm getting ready to do, and then hopefully aim and get it on straighter next time. I was trying to look at the grid paper, and I'm like, oh, there are lines on the card front that I totally did not line up. So, yeah, whoops. Anyhow. Sorry about that. So, I don't know, it's like that Big Ben Parliament thing where you get to see me do this a second time, and hopefully I'll get it on here straight this time around. Okay, so let's try this again, Amy, and use the lines on the paper to line it up rather than trying to use the grid lines. And I think that's straighter. At least it looks straighter to me. So we're going with it. But that's how I fix it, is I just take my take my snips and slide it right between the two layers and snip it apart. Then you're not ripping and pulling as you're taking it. Real easy to do. And again, if you need to remove the dimensionals, if it's really not straight and really crazy, you can actually just kind of take your finger and roll the adhesive part of the dimensional, and it comes right off. So that's my other little tip. Okay. I'll try not to mess anything else up today, but you know, I make no guarantees. Okay, so I've got soft suede ink, and I've got the larger wheat image from the gathered wheat stamp set, and I'm just going to ink that up and try to get it so that it's good and inky. All right, I think we got it. We'll give that a try, and if it's not perfectly inked, we'll flip it over and stamp it again. All right, gonna give that a second. And I think we got a pretty good image. This one, again, is going to be some of my really fancy coloring. I know you all will be very impressed by my coloring skills. Try not to laugh too much. I'm going to start with crumb cake, and I've got light crumb cake to start with here. And I'm just going to color the little, I don't know if it's twine or whatever they're using to hold the wheat together. And then I've got dark crumb cake, and I'm just going to kind of come in a little bit from the edge, and maybe a little bit down here, just a little spot here and there. And then I'm going to come back in with the light and just try to blend in anywhere that I think is a little too dark or looks a little splotchy. I'll just come in with the light and fix it. All right, so there we go. That's fancy coloring number one. And again, I know you'll be very impressed with my fancy coloring, the second version of it. And I've got So Saffron Stampin' Blends. And you will see just how skilled I am at this coloring thing. Again, don't laugh. If you watched me color before, you know how this goes. I pretty much just slap the color on, and then, you know, that's how it is, especially on these larger images like this. And again, anything that's kind of a natural look or a floral, anything like that, where it doesn't, you know, it's not usually perfectly all one color everywhere. They're very forgiving images, so that's what I usually try to start with. If you're brand new to coloring with Stampin' Blends, start with something that's like a nature type image, and then it doesn't need to be perfect. So, all right, so I've got light So Saffron is the color that I'm putting on here right now. And again, as you can see, I'm really using lots of skill, or none at all, and basically just slapping the color on, trying to get most of it covered. And then I'm going to come in, I've got dark So Saffron, and just add in a little bit of dark here and there. Again, nothing really, you know, I don't have a lot of really excellent tips and, you know, things that I can tell you about it other than just sort of put a little bit on here and there. Again, especially on the natural images, because it's not all going to be perfect. The last color that I used on this is the light pumpkin pie, which it totally doesn't look like pumpkin pie. Until you actually start coloring with it. The cap that I have, at least on mine, does not look very pumpkin pie to me. It looks more peach, but the color is definitely pumpkin pie. So, all right, so again, I'm just coming in here and just trying to pick out like a little piece of wheat, shaft of wheat, or whatever you call it. Just trying to pick out one of those, do a little bit of quick coloring down with it. Again, coming in areas where it should be a little bit darker, adding a few little pieces in here and there. So we're actually almost done coloring. And I know, again, that you're very impressed with my fantastic coloring skills. So I'm going to come back in with just a little bit of the light So Saffron and make sure that I don't have anything that looks kind of, I don't know, like a blob of color. I don't want that look. And then just make sure that I'm colored in everywhere that I want it to be colored in. Because sometimes in my fancy coloring skills, I totally miss pieces. And this is kind of the opportunity where I come back in and just make sure that I have all the little ends colored. And again, have done a little blending where it's needed. And that's it for coloring this. So very, very easy. Again, the natural images are super simple to color. So I'll hold it up a little closer. Hopefully you can see you can see the little touches of the pumpkin pie in it, but it's mostly just yellow and a little bit of light and dark on the yellow, and call it good. All right, we are going to cut this out with one of the wheat dies, which is the big one that looks sort of like a tree or mushroom or whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to run this over to my die cutting machine, which is off here to my left. This one, it's a little tricky to line up. The main thing that I did was try to look at where the little tie was at here, and cut it based on the tie. It's a little hard at the top, at least it was for me, to figure out, okay, I don't know, it's kind of hairy up there, and trying to figure out exactly where to place it. But I figured if I got the center of it placed correctly, then the rest of it would just fall in line. So that is what I did when I cut it the first time, and I'm hoping that it'll cut nicely the second time as well with my same fantastical way of cutting. So, all right. So today was the last day for my younger daughter, her last day of school. Technically, she went through graduation on Friday, but they had her stay through until today, so she's excited to be done with school. My older one's still in school for another couple of days, so she'll be in until next week, Tuesday. So there we are. We got our die cut image. And I'm going to take some Stampin' or some mini glue dots, that's what these are, and we're going to adhere this on with glue dots, maybe, if I can get them to stick to the paper. All right, just take a couple of those. And again, it doesn't need to be bunches and bunches of them, but maybe, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 if you really want to stick a couple of extra ones on. So, it looks like a stalk of broccoli. It does kind of, Karen. So you can color it green if you want to, and nobody will judge. So, all right, so there we go. Got that stuck down. What else do I need to put on here? I have got a couple of die cuts that I did ahead of time. Cut some of the little wheat images from So Saffron, as well as from the copper foil sheets. And then I've got some of the little leafy looking, I don't know, again, I'm sure there's an official term for them. They look like leaves to me. Did some die cutting of the leaves with from So Saffron. No. So Saffron. This would be Sahara Sand. Too many S's. So the difference between glue dots and a dimensional is thick and a glue dot is flat. So that's the main difference between the two. So dimensionals will raise things up. Glue dots just stick them down. So glue dots is like a less messy version of the liquid glue, in my opinion. So I use them a lot for sticking on little things like this, where I know it's going to be hidden with a sentiment or something over the top of it, so that I don't have to have my fingers all stuck in the glue. So, all right, so I'm sticking these down. I'm put a little glue dot on here, and I'm going to take this one and we'll try to stick it to the same little glue dot over here. And then I'll add another little glue dot, and we'll stick some of the, stay there. Stick some of the little die cut leafy pieces on here as well. Stick one of these, I think we'll go like that. And then maybe one of the smaller ones. Probably turn it this way. And then I think we'll stick another one in here quick. Now I'm almost out of glue dots, it looks like. I should have grabbed more. I think we'll stick that one down here. And then maybe tuck that one up underneath. So just kind of layer it up how you like it to look. All right, got that one. And then I've got a couple of little pieces that I'm going to put facing downward here. And I've got one glue dot left, and I'll see if I can stick them both on with one glue dot, and if I can't, I will reach right behind me and grab the next pack of glue dots, which it looks like I'm not going to be able to because I did not plan well. Thankfully, my glue dot drawer is right behind me, so I will do glue dots to the rescue here on the other piece. So I'm going to take that one, tuck it in here, and then add in the little leaf over here as well. So hey, Jackie, thanks for hopping in. And we'll tuck this one kind of up here underneath. Well, maybe I'll stick it down first and then we'll tuck it under. There we go. All right, and again, I know this looks kind of like a pile of mess, but we're gonna have a sentiment stuck over the top of most of it, so you're not gonna see the pile of yucky looking glue dots and everything all glued together. So also going to add in a little bit, this is some new ribbon. So this is the natural 1/2-inch woven ribbon from the upcoming mini catalog. So again, I'm just going to take a little bit of Stampin' Seal and I'm going to put it here over top of the big glob of glue dots and things that I've got put down here already. I could also stick this down with glue dots if I wanted to do that. So I may stick some glue dots on here depending on how well I can get this to stick down. And then we're just going to make a bit of a Z here, kind of a wide Z. And I may do a little glue dot here as well, sort of to stick down the ribbon. And then come back here, stick this down. And then we're going to trim off the ribbon. Oh, I'm glad that you're liking the card, and I'm glad that hopefully my mess ups will help you not to mess up. So, all right. So I've got that stuck down, used a little bit of glue dots, a little bit of Stampin' Seal, so whatever your preferred way is to stick it down. So I've got that piled up on there. Then the last thing we need to do is add a sentiment. Well, and a couple embellishments, but sentiment mostly. So Stampin' Up! Has a new embossing toolkit that has the embossing buddy is back. Which use the embossing buddy. It works particularly well on darker cardstocks, but you may want to use it on any time you do embossing, and it helps the embossing little extra bits of embossing pieces not to stick anywhere that you don't want them to stick. So embossing buddy is back, and we're going to use Versamark. So you wipe it first with the embossing buddy to take off, to make sure that you're not going to have anything stuck anywhere that you don't want it stuck, or at least hopefully you won't. Then we're going to use Versamark ink, and we're going to stamp the sentiment. Again, I've got soft suede cardstock. And then we're going to grab the copper embossing powder. And I'm going to sprinkle that over the top of the embossed image, give it a little flick on the corner to get rid of all the extra pieces. And as you can see, the embossing buddy does help a lot to keep all the extra pieces away. They also have a brush included with the kit, so if you have anything where you got little bits somewhere that are stuck, you can take the little brush and brush them away. But this time around I got lucky and there's nothing stuck where I didn't want it to be stuck, so I'm going to slide that out of the way and grab my heat tool. So the Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings in it, and it's got level 1 setting for drying and level 2 setting for heat embossing. So the heat embossing is definitely hotter. So the drying, you can use it if you're going to watercolor and want it to dry a little faster, or you're doing some sort of a technique where the ink is on the paper and it's real wet and you need it to dry faster. You can definitely use the level 1 setting. But again, level 2 setting is for heat embossing, so it's a little hotter. And hopefully you'll be able to see it start doing the little changeover as it gets heated. There you go, it's starting to go. You'll see that it changes to a shiny, pretty image with your heat tool here. And then you know it's done once it's all pretty and shiny. You can overheat and burn embossing powder, so make sure you stop heating it once it's all done, otherwise you can burn it and it's not very pretty when it's all brown. So, all right, so give it a second before you touch anything on it, because you can smear your embossing powder as well, so just give it a second to cool down, and then you can go and die cut it. You have such a hard time making the Z with the ribbon. I don't know, sometimes I have better luck than others, and so, I don't know. And I'll get the sentiment out and get it put down, and I may decide that I hate the way that it looks and rip it up. And that's the one nice thing about using Stampin' Seal rather than a liquid glue on the ribbon, is that you can peel it back up and put it back down and peel it up and put it back down. Where if you use liquid glue on it, it's kind of stuck and it's a gluey mess if you don't use kind of a, I don't know, a dryer adhesive, I guess. All right. So there we've got our little stitched rectangle. And it's the smallest one of the wider rectangles, if that makes sense. So we've got the narrow rectangles and the wider ones. This is the smallest of the wider rectangles, and I'm going to cut this off screen. Just going to run it through the die cutting machine. Hopefully it'll only take me a second to do that. Depends on how straight I drive with the die cutting machine. We've got that all die cut. And then I'm going to grab my Stampin' Dimensionals, and Hopefully I've got this placed on here correctly. So I'm looking at it and I'm going, yep, I think that looks pretty much like I wanted it to look. So I can see the little wheat pieces sticking out around it. I can see the ribbon sticking out around it. So that was kind of how I wanted everything to land. The one thing that I'm going to do with my Stampin' Dimensionals is I'm going to make sure that I stick it so that it's at least mostly stuck on the paper on the background. If I stick it just to the ribbon, if the ribbon happens to come loose, then my sentiment's also going to be loose and probably fall off the card. So that's why I try to make sure when I'm sticking sentiments down like this that I actually make sure that some of it's stuck on the paper. So I often stick it on the background rather than flipping it over and sticking it on the back of the sentiment die cut. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to make sure, and this one I'm going to give it a good hard smush up here because I'm hoping that it'll actually stick a little bit to the background paper and not just to my little die cuts. All right, so we're going to peel off the backing. And if you have trouble making the Z's, try to just do a V because the V is a little bit smaller and a little bit easier to manage. So I started out by making the V's and then kind of graduated to making Z's as I got a little bit more comfortable with adding the ribbon and ripping it back up and adding it back down and ripping it back up. So that's always an option too. And the V's look just as pretty. So, all right, so we've got that all stuck down. The last piece on the card front is a couple of the brushed metallic adhesive back dots. And I thought about putting the copper ones on there, and maybe I should have, but I felt like they were, I don't know, almost too bright. So I went with, is this brass? Whatever the other one is. This is gold. Whatever the other one is on here. That was the one I went with, and I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are. Maybe I should let you all decide whether you think I should use the brass ones again, or if I should go with copper. So I don't know. I just thought I'd give it a little, kind of a mixed metallic look when I did it this way, but you guys may not like that look. So I don't know. So I'll give it a second. You guys can decide. Somebody can decide whether they want copper or brass. So, all right. Ruth Ann says brass, so that's what I'm going with. Okay. Oh, okay. Hopefully the rest of you all agree. Okay, so I'm taking one of the larger ones. I'm going to tuck that up here in kind of underneath and around my little die cut pieces of wheat. And then I'm going to take a smaller one and I'm going to tuck it over here by the sentiment. Ooh, and I just totally scooted that one out of the way here. All right. Oh, Jackie says brass too. Okay, so I picked the right one. Like I said, I looked at the copper and I'm like, yeah, it's too shiny, I think. All right, so that's it. On the inside of the card, I kept it pretty simple as well, and I have a total disaster on my desk. So I've got basic white cardstock and a little leftover strip that I trimmed off. This is 6x6 Designer Series paper, so it works well to use it for a card front. And then the 1/2 inch that's you trim off for your card front, I actually then use it to decorate the inside of the card. So just going to add a little Stampin' Seal across the bottom. All right, Julie agrees too, so brass is definitely the color. Okay. And hopefully I will get this lined up sort of straight. Sort of. Oop, not straight at all. All right, let me flip it over. Okay, I think I got it that time. And stick it down, and then I'm going to trim off. I know I hate wasting designer paper because it's also pretty too. So anytime I can use it to decorate up the inside, I definitely do that. So that's one nice thing about having them be the 6x6 is if you use it to cover the whole card front, it gives you a perfect little 1/2 inch piece to stick on the inside of your card. All right, so I'm going to flip this over and put this on the inside, and we're going to be all done with the card for today. So let me see if I can get this lined up straighter than I did the outside. Okay. Going to do a quick crease with the bone folder, and that's it. So all done. Beautiful stamp set. If you're not a demonstrator yet, you should really join, and then you can pre-order it like I did. And if you are holding off and waiting till July, definitely get this on July 1st because it's a beautiful stamp set bundle. Again, I love all things fall, so I was so happy to see some more fall things in the catalog. If you are a customer of mine, you should already have your copies of the catalog and celebration brochure. If you are not a customer of mine but would like to be, drop me a note and let me know what your mailing address is, and I'll be happy to mail out some catalogs to you. So thanks again for joining. I appreciate you all being here, and yes, Karen, you do need this set. So, all right, so let me know if you have questions. Again, I'll post the details on my blog tomorrow around 8 o'clock Eastern time in the morning, and I will add the link into this video so that you'll be able to find the details about this project if you want to go take a closer peek. Again, don't forget about the sale, the retirement sale going on from Stampin' Up. Don't forget about the buy one, get one 50% off kits. And don't forget about the Mini Designer Series paper share that I'm offering as well. Let me know if you have questions. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll plan to be live on my YouTube channel around 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Friday. And then back here live around 2 o'clock Eastern Time next week, Tuesday. Chat soon.